Well, I am excited to be here and glad to be sharing this time with you. I think in the short period I was here, I saw a lot of energy, a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of really ideas floating through the halls, and I'm excited to be a small part of your of your afternoon. So let me start by giving you a quick overview. I think Abhi did that, but I'll just elaborate. So I've been in the technology space for over 20 plus years. I was one of the founding members of Travelocity, and we grew that from almost nothing and an idea to a billions of dollars business, and really learned about, today you guys changed the way you shop and travel was very different than, before we did Travelocity, and I'm privileged to be a small part of that journey. And after that, I spent time at PayPal, and quite a significant growth story from our perspective. I hope some of you guys use PayPal, and you see how it's transformed the way we shop today. And I learned a lot of things along the way. And after that, I sort of decided to go and work at TurboTax. It's death and taxes are the only certainty in life, and I wanted to see what it was like to do taxes before I die. So I was at TurboTax, and it was fun. The big sort of transformation there was, how many of you believe, or people can do their taxes on a mobile phone? Just raise your hands. Okay. So at the time when I was there, when I started, it was less than 1% of our 32 million customers. When I left, it was close to 40%. Right? So pretty interesting transformation to see how you can take a mobile platform, right? And now I'm really excited to be a part of Ancestry. And you guys must be wondering, why is Ancestry talking in the healthcare track? And what we are seeing is an intersection of science and technology coming together and using big data to solve big problems. And I'm really excited to be a part of this company. We've had phenomenal growth. We've been growing at an accelerated pace. And really what is transformative is the amount of data that we're able to get and consumer interest and create real human values, right? And I want to start with the video to show you what our customers say about our products. You want to roll the video?
When I received the results for my test, it was kind of a surreal moment. It was almost like I was meeting myself for the very first time.
I just want to say thank you so much for making an awesome product and helping people like me fill in the blanks to their lives.
My grandmother passed away years ago, but to meet her first cousin in Ireland and have her welcome me and the rest of the family was just incredible.
It feels like I've found another member of our family, and it's really exciting when that happens.
One of the biggest surprises was that I found out I'm 25% Native American. I had no idea.
It was very emotional, it was very exciting, and it makes me appreciate life much more.
That's when you know who you are and know where you came from. You're gonna walk outside, keep your head up high. Said, thank you.
I'll share one customer story which really resonated with me. I used to travel to San Diego quite a bit in my previous job, and I had a limo driver who used to pick me up from the airport, take me to the office, and bring me back. And on my last trip, I told him, look, I'm joining Ancestry. I'm leaving this previous company. And he says, Nat, you won't believe this. My mom is 75. And she found out last year that she's been adopted. And she doesn't know where she's from. So he ordered a DNA kit for her to figure out what her actual ethnicity was. And it was a very emotional journey that their family went through after discovering that she was adopted. And that's what we do. We try to take all this big data, all the information that we have, and make real emotional connections for our customers. So we are, how many of you have heard of Ancestry before or used our services? So quite a few of you. I'm glad you heard the video because you've heard of us because of the video. But in addition to that, we have about 2.5 million people who subscribe to our family history product, and I'll walk you guys guys through that. And like Abhi mentioned, we are now the largest DNA database in the world, right? 4 million plus people on our database today. They can't hear me? Okay, thank you. And it's a large responsibility we have, and we bring the power of this information and this data, both on the family history side as well as DNA, to bring insightful, meaningful connections to people. One of the challenges we have, and I'll hit on this again towards the end, is we have in this database mostly Western Europeans. And when I look at this group of people, I'll implore you to see how we can change that or improve that so we have more of the world represented in this database going forward. So let me tell you a little bit about Ancestry. We have 20 billion historical records. So for since 1983, in over 80 million places we have gone. We've gone to parishes, we've gone to churches, we've got birth records, death records, census records, historical information, World War II photographs, anything you can think of, 20 billion of them in our database. 80 million family trees. So people go and they create a family tree about their family. They associate these records with them, and they create really rich information that we call our big tree database. 10 billion profiles, both of living people and of dead people. 1.7 billion photographs. And 4 million people with their genetic information. So we have a lot of data. And we've been collecting this data since 1983, going, scanning, digitizing, and we've been leveraging, artificial intelligence to a certain extent and machine learning before they were called anything. Because we had this rich information of data, and then how do you take this data and associate it with people, right? So you may have 60,000 John Smiths there, unstructured data because you may spell John Smith differently. And how do you actually annotate them? What sort of technologies we use? So we use that to create connections. So we use all this information that we have, and we create connections and insights, and we give people hints of saying, you know what, you might be related to this person. And I'll give you another example which will bring this to life. So I was interviewing somebody for a job at Ancestry last night, and she was very interested in the product, but she's never used it. So she goes home, and she starts a family tree. And she sends me a note today, in the morning, saying, Nat, I just used your product, and I found, my fourth cousins through this. And I also found the first time that some of them came over to the United States, and they have their immigration document on Ancestry. So very emotional experience for her to go through. And we are able to do that in a matter of minutes because we have all this power of technology bringing that to bear. So let me introduce you to Tim Sullivan, who's our CEO. Tim's been our CEO for about 12 years, and he has a rich family tree, and I'll bring to life what we did for him. He is the 8th cousin of Taylor Swift. And this is not a joke, it's actually real. Through the richness of our database, we were able to find out that these two, Peter and Sarah, are the same common descendants of Tim Sullivan and Taylor Swift. Tim's really excited about that. We haven't asked Taylor. You can tweet and ask her if you want. Now, so what's happening in the world today? So we talked about the past, right? So you have, tweets and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and all these other social media. Every minute of your life is being recorded. So the ancestry of the future and building family trees of the future will be, recorded at every minute, and we are using this kind of information now. We don't have to go to only the data that we can digitize, but also data which is being used today. There is a stat which says for every human being by 2020, there will be, let me make sure I have the right number, 52 gigabytes of data. 50 to 100 gigabytes of data for every human being. So, the richness of the information that your grandchildren will see about you and how you live will be very rich, right? And the ability to mine that information, put it in contextual ways which create emotional connections will be why we are excited every day. We come to work every day thinking about what can we do with this big data? What can we do to bring emotional experiences to life for you guys. So how does it work? Let me talk about our genomics business for a second. So we are a successful company, right? Started off in 1983, long history, and we saw this disruptive technology like DNA coming up. And we embraced it. We said, okay, this is another way to get information. So we created a startup. So we created a pirate ship within our own organization to go and say, what can we do with this data? So we started the business about 5 years back, and we've seen amazing growth in that business. It's very easy to use, right? All you have to do is spit into a tube. You spit into a tube, and we give you information. And we go and look at 99% of our DNA is the same, right? There are about 3 billion markers in a DNA. You guys are smarter than me about this, but I'll just share what I know. 3 billion markers in the DNA, 99% are the same, right? And we look at about 700,000 of them to identify markers about your ethnicity. And that's how we can tell you what percentage you are Irish, what percentage you're Indian, you're Chinese, or you're Japanese. I think we can associate that because of that, right? And it's low barrier of entry. In our family history business, it would take hours of research and technology for you to connect the family tree and figure out how you bring those experiences. But here, barrier is very low. Just spit into a tube, and we can tell you something about yourself, which is interesting. So disruptive businesses, the chart on the left-hand side shows you the rate of growth of the internet. And it's got the blue line, which shows the rate of sales of Ancestry DNA kits. This is an amazingly growing business, where the rate of people buying DNA kits and learning about themselves is almost the same pace as the rate of growth of the internet, which is really phenomenal. People are really connecting with, identifying with experiences like, who am I? Where do I belong? Really understanding that journey of life. And we have tested now 4 million people. My estimate is there are less than 10 million people in the world who have their DNA tested today. And I think, we have 7 billion people left on the planet to do. So we have a huge business ahead of us, disruptive growth. And as you are entrepreneurs sitting in this audience thinking about it, think about, a company like ours, an older company, all of a sudden we face this disruptive technology. How do you adopt it? How do you create it? And how do you leverage it? And how do you grow it? And when you actually see that it's growing, how do you make sure that you can grow at the same pace? These are challenges that we face, and I think you guys will face as your businesses become more and more successful. The other thing that we do is unlocking data, right? So we get some information from the 700,000 SNPs of data from your DNA, but it doesn't tell the whole story. These are breadcrumbs that your ancestors have left in your genetics. So we married that with the rich family history data that we have, the data with all the records, the birth and marriage records, right? The family trees people have created, and we found migration patterns, and we found clusters of people who have similar DNA. Where did they live? Where did they migrate? What was their history? And we created this product called Communities that you saw on our chart. Now, this is a unique value proposition where we are annotating information to your genetic information. And as you annotate more information, you can draw deeper and deeper insights. Now, this is what we're doing today. Think about the possibilities of tomorrow. What other information can we annotate to create a more richer insight for all the world and all the consumers in the world? I think that's the power of data that we see going forward. So this is a view of how we've used genetic information with our family data and created these clusters and show sort of migration patterns as a result of them. And you can see it. If you go to our website, you will. So let me talk about power through numbers. Most genetic research today starts off with a small sample set because it's hard to find large numbers, right? So say you're studying the BRAC or the BRCA genes. You start with a population of people who have them. And then you say you want to study the BRCA1 or BRCA2. These are two kinds of gene mutations. So you try to reduce this size again. And then you say which population of people have a propensity for breast cancer, maybe they're older than 70. So you reduce that even more, and then you're left with a smaller sample size. So when you start with thousands of people in a test, you end up with a handful to figure out how you do research on. Now, think about what you can do when you have millions of people in this database. And you annotate more information, right, healthcare information to it, what insights will you get? And I think that's the challenge and opportunity we have ahead of us. And this is what unlocking insights through data. Now the future, right, we have some big unanswerable questions, which I'm hoping you guys as entrepreneurs will take up the challenge, right? With this rich information of genetic data, annotated data, nature versus nurture. Did you inherit something? Did you inherit a trait because of who you are and because of your genes or because of where you're from or where you were born or what you ate? What kind of fitness applications can you create as a result of it, right? Why do some people with a mutation get sick when others do not? This is a question that as you have more data, you are able to answer them in more powerful ways, right? Why are some people more resilient to diseases? Good question, right? So these are some of the questions that I think as data becomes available and more powerful, structured, unstructured data, and we get more and more of gene information together, you guys will be able to answer. We will be able to answer for our customers. So I'm really excited about the fact that science and technology is coming together, right? And in the future, we will be able to answer some of these questions. So let me stop there for a second and wrap up my discussion. I'm really excited about what we're doing at Ancestry. We are really enabling consumers to know who they are, where they belong, right? Which is giving them a sense of belonging to this global community. Second, being the largest DNA database in the world, we are seeing some interesting insights, and we believe through the power of big data, we can bring more and more insights to bear as the database becomes more diverse. Today, we have mostly Western Europeans in the database, and I'm imploring you guys to think about different ways where we can get the rest of the world on this as well. So I'm excited to be here, excited to have you guys think about healthcare and using the power of big data to make it more insightful for people going forward. I'm open to questions.
Thank you all, and thank you, Nat, for that amazing talk. I think there's a lot of interest here, so let me just give the mic over to Naren Bakshi.
So, Nat, thank you very much. Two questions. One is, how do you compare yourself to 23andMe, which has been there also for a long time? And number two, since many of the people here, most of them are from Indian origin, and you have minuscule data from there. And the question there would be different. Question there would be, how many North Indian moved to South Indian? What was the connection, East, West? All of those are a very important question. So are you doing anything special to try to figure out how it could be useful to Indian population?
Thank you. Great questions. We have many competitors in this space who are focused on different aspects of genome sequencing, and we're very excited that the FDA recently has started publishing more guidelines on what we can do in the direct-to-consumer space. And we are very excited about it because it's a path that we can go down at whenever the time is ready for us. And we do believe giving more information to consumers and giving them better insights for many different applications, including health, is really the way to grow this category. So we are very excited about the space and the interest that we see from entrepreneurs across the world. On the Indian side, so I went and spit into this tube and I found out my ancestry, and it told me that I'm 88% South Asian. So I said, I can look in the mirror. Why do I have to pay $99 for that? And then I had 7% other. So I'm really curious. I'm like, what is this other stuff? Now, I have light eyes, and I'm from the south of India. I'm from Bangalore. And I said, look, I'm sure my ancestors did not have light eyes. I don't know how long back. So there's some mixed blood here. I'd love to find out. So the great thing about this network is the database gets refreshed and the insights get more clearer and crisper when more people like me participate. So the more people like you who sign up for this test, the information will become more granular. The communities will become richer. The migration patterns of what happens in India, south versus north, east versus west, will become real. So that's the power of big data. So I'm imploring you to go and participate in this, right? We have different steps going on right now that we as a company believe that to have a diverse database is really critical. So we have initiatives ourselves where we go to different countries and we get the DNA samples. But the power of this information is the more and more people like me participate, my information becomes more richer.
True.
Yes, so I keep getting reports. So I get updated reports of my ethnicity as information becomes more clearer. So we keep on looking at different algorithms based on the data we have. So I encourage you guys to go and participate in the DNA test at Ancestry.
Yep, I'm 98% Indian. Sorry. Yes, it's Ancestry.
Give me 1 second. The question was, how about 23andMe? And they have a great product as well. I think ours is better, but I'm just kidding.
Thank you very much. I have an interesting question. Are you partnering or working with research associations like NIH, CDC, third-party payers, and healthcare providers, as well as insurance companies? And if you are, how are they using the data?
So, one, we are. Oh my God, I did something. I don't know what I did. We are deeply committed to ensuring that the data of our customers is protected, and we have the right privacy and security controls around them. We are stewards of our customers' data. So without their knowledge of the information, we will not share information with any other partner. We do believe that there are opportunities down the road, but right now we are really focused on growing this business. This business is growing at such a rapid clip. I think we are, like I said, the largest in the world today, and we continue to see accelerating numbers of how quickly we need to scale this. So we're really focused on that today. And then we want to ensure that we don't, do anything with the data that our customers do not want them to do without their permission. So right now, we're not working with any of the agencies that you mentioned.
Obviously, you're collecting a lot of data, and the data could be useful for predicting what genetic defects could actually affect individuals in a certain way, number one. And then, what can we do using that data to prevent those diseases? And obviously, you're only doing the consumer genomics as opposed to NIH study that Scripps is doing for 1 million patients. But eventually, your big data could be a trove of treasure in terms of predicting which parents may have a defective offsprings and what can be done to do that. So what is your vision going forward?
You just mentioned some of the amazing possibilities of this data, and we are open to that. I think right now we are not focused on it. We are focused on really figuring out how we add value to our customers' lives through the ethnicity information that we share with them. But this information. But certainly, the data in the future could be used in different ways, of course, with the permission of our customers.